work for National Geographic. Or rather, I worked for them. This is not a story about belief. It's a story about discovery. About what happens when the world runs out of places to hide its secrets. In the middle of December, our expedition was assigned to the Arctic Circle, just shy of the geographic North Pole. The goal was simple: document accelerated ice loss, collect sonar data, and capture footage of a region most humans would never see in person. Christmas was approaching. Most of the world was decorating trees and wrapping presents. We were flying into permanent night. The sun had already vanished below the horizon weeks earlier, leaving the sky a bruised indigo, never fully dark, never truly light. Our team consisted of 6 people: glaciologists, a marine biologist, a veteran ice navigator, a documentarian, and me, the lead field journalist. The legends of the North Pole were mentioned only as jokes. "Maybe we'll find Santa's workshop," someone said as we loaded gear onto the icebreaker. We laughed. That was our first mistake. The sonar picked up, just after midnight, a structure, not a landmass, not a ridge, a shape geometric, symmetrical beneath nearly 80 meters of ice. At first, we assumed it was an error. Sonar glitches aren't uncommon in polar waters, but the image persisted, resolving itself into something impossibly precise. A circular formation with radical spokes extending outward like points of a star. The navigator went quiet. "That's not natural," he said. Neither was what came next. The compass began to spin. GPS coordinates froze, then reset, placing us several kilometers inland. "Inland?" I said. "There is no inland." The ice around the ship began to groan, not with the sharp cracks of stress fractures, but with a low, resonant sound, like pressure being released from a sealed chamber. Then the ice opened. Not cracked, opened. A perfectly smooth ring, nearly 200 meters wide, descending into darkness like a frozen iris pulling itself apart. Beneath it was not ocean, it was land. We descended by cable and drone. What the cameras showed made no sense. Stone, blackened rock arranged into streets and foundations, preserved beneath the ice like an insect trapped in amber. Buildings stood intact, steep roofs, spired towers, archways etched with symbols older than any known language. And there, at the center of it all, stood a massive structure shaped like a cathedral, crossed with a fortress. Carved into its gates was a symbol we all recognized instinctively. A circle, a cross, 8 points radiating outward, a star. Not the Star of Bethlehem, something older, something colder. The air inside the cavern was warm. That's when the bells began to ring. They came from everywhere, deep metallic tolls that vibrated through the ice and into our bones. Each strike echoed too long, as if the sound itself refused to die. Our biologist started crying. "I hear singing," she said. There was no singing. Not at first. We entered the city at what we estimated was midnight, December 24th, Christmas Eve. That was when we saw them. Figures moving between the buildings. Tall, thin, wrapped in red. Not fabric, but something closer to cured flesh, stretched and stitched into ceremonial robes. Their faces were hidden behind masks carved from bone, elongated into smiles that never changed. They moved with purpose, with ritual. They did not acknowledge us, until the documentarian's camera light flickered. Every head turned at once. Inside the cathedral, we found the workshop, but not the one from the stories. Long tables lined the hall, covered in tools, not for crafting toys, but for carving, for shaping, for correcting. Against the far wall stood shelves, thousands of figures, dolls, each one made to resemble a child, each one labeled, names, dates, locations, naughty, nice. The distinction wasn't moral, it was biological. One of our team found a ledger written in ink so old it had turned brown. The entries were meticulous. Population complaints maintained through myth. Fear disguised as reward. The children must believe. Belief feeds the cold. Then we heard footsteps. Heavy ones. Measured. Deliberate. He was not fat. He was not jolly. He was enormous. His body was elongated. Proportions wrong, as if stretched to fit a shape it had long outgrown. His beard was white, yes, but brittle, frozen into dagger-like strands. His eyes were black pits, reflecting starlight that did not exist. Antlers rose from his skull, carved with runes that glowed faintly blue. When he spoke, his voice came from everywhere.
You were not expected.
The bells rang again. The robed figures knelt.
We keep the world asleep,
he said.
We give them stories so they do not look north.
One of us ran. He did not scream long. Santa Claus is not a man. He is a warden. The North Pole is not a home. It is a prison. Something ancient sleeps beneath the ice. Something that feeds on belief, on tradition, on ritual repetition. Every song sung, every child taught to behave, every year the story is told. It strengthens the seal. Christmas is not celebration, it is maintenance. We were never meant to find this place because discovery changes belief, and belief is everything. I don't remember how I got back to the surface, only that the ice closed behind us, only that the compass began to work again, only the National Geographic buried the footage, labeled it equipment failure, climate anomaly, unverified myth. But every Christmas Eve, when the bells ring at midnight, I feel the ground hum beneath my feet, no matter where I am. And I know he's still there, watching, counting, making his list, and praying we keep believing. Because if we ever stop, he won't need the ice anymore.